going forward, wheat farmers in the country will get the support of the federal government to boost local wheat production, enhance food security and reduce Nigeria's dependence on imported wheat. This effort is part of the broader strategy to promote agricultural productivity and economic growth through the National Agricultural Growth Scheme and Agro Pocket, NAGS-AP. The scheme spans 16 wheat-producing states, targeting farmers with financial support and resources for improved wheat cultivation. According to the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, the initiative is designed to empower farmers as well as support rural economies. The scheme will also see the provision of significant financial support, including subsidies on certified wheat seeds and fertilizers, and reducing costs for participating farmers. Now, joining us in the studio for this conversation is a farmer, African farmer, Mogaji. I should say is African farmer, Mogaji.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you. And as Olamide greeted him this morning, I didn't realize it. She said compliment of the season, so I'll say the same thing.
Same here. Compliment
of the season. But then, so now having wheat farmers now getting subsidies from the federal government for wheat production and all of that, do you see this as good news?
Yes. So any form of support now for any value chain in agri, it's a move in the right direction. Any form of support, even if it's policy support, even if it's funding, whatever form of support is a move in the right direction. So it's very crucial that that we get more of the support. So it's a good one.
Lovely. So, but then proponents argue that subsidies encourage increased productivity and affordability, but with global wheat prices fluctuating due to geopolitical tensions like the Russia-Ukraine war, the Israel-Gaza war, etc., how well-timed is Nigeria's subsidy policy in protecting the most vulnerable households, especially the underserved rural communities?
Yeah, like I said, it's a good one. Okay, the support is a good one, needed now. Yes, with the rural communities who are finding it even more difficult than the urban dwellers, to sustain, it's very crucial that these kind of initiatives move on. Yes, subsidies, it's good, beneficial. It has also its, downtimes, okay, if not well managed. And that's the clause, if not well managed. So it's the management that is very important.
That's right.
And for us in the value chain, as either food security expert now, not necessarily a farmer, we should be asking some basic questions to say, what are we doing differently from other subsidies and other palliatives, such that we will get more efficient and effective results?
That's right.
Those are key things that we would like to know. Some of the details we would like to know so that we can also help the government. So nobody can see your back. You can't see your back. It's somebody else that can see it. As long as it's constructive, government should be willing, and I believe they are willing to embrace that. So now they need to be, talking about subsidies and funding is okay.
Yeah.
But letting people know that these seeds were produced 100% in Nigeria is another plus. Some of these details need to come out. So if you're giving fertilizers, I saw some details around some fertilizers. Are we giving the right quantity of fertilizer needed? Chemicals given, let me call it crop protection, because some people may say chemicals is negative. No, crop protection. Okay. What quantity, what quality? We need those details out. You see, over the years, government, all administrations have always meant well. But it's always implementation. And implementation is beyond the president, the state governor. It's the people around them. So if they let us know that we're giving you premium quality, these are the brands. So if you get these brands, it's not from us. These details are more crucial now so that the envisaged objective will be achieved. These little details missing, that's why we don't see results over the years. So if they give these details out, then the farmers will know, I'm entitled to 5 bags. You gave me 3. And they can raise alarm. And because raising that alarm helps that productivity, because what will happen if not well implemented will be government will say, oh, we gave this input, we expect this output, but many times we will now not see the output. But it's not the people at the helm of office. It's that some of this information is not out to the media so that everybody can know.
Interesting.
I think acceptance is another issue. How well people accept locally made products and all of that. I see here that the subsidy is actually on local wheat and not on imported wheat. We still have these other issues with rice and other produce. Talk to us about the impact of this subsidy on pricing and acceptability, and also the cost of other goods and services. How does wheat directly impact?
Oh yes. So take for instance bread, noodles, spaghetti. Wheat is not consumed directly. It's input for many.
Consumed.
Not always, yes.
Because some of us actually make it into flour and then we.
You are not. You don't move the needle. You're probably 1% of what wheat is used for.
That's right.
So for wheat is input for commercializations, for industries, and that's why wheat, attracts more value than rice. Rice only goes in mostly into us, out of us. But wheat goes into many factories, industries, and that creates more jobs. Okay, so, and even there's a place for imported wheat, and there's a place for locally produced wheat. Many people who consume wheat prefer the locally produced wheat. So there's a huge value chain for that. While the imported wheat, also there's a value for that. So it's just that we need to increase our production to reduce importation, but there's a place for both. Then apart from that, when it comes to like job creation, very huge. Now, because of the price of rice, spaghetti and noodles, in fact, the sales, if you ask the FMCGs, they are doing more sales with spaghetti and noodles and competing, favorably with rice. So if we increase our wheat production to the variety, especially to the variety that the FMCGs want, what that means is that we drop importation, we make wheat more available across the value chain in seed, fertilizer, chemical, tractor, diesel supplies, the whole value chain. We will have a robust economic development.
But looking at these, in 2024, if you look at wheat imports, actually constitutes about 6% of Nigeria's total import bill, indicating that Nigeria as a country, we are still heavily reliant on foreign supply. So this raises the question about whether the subsidy is a temporary fix or a long-term solution to the challenges we face with wheat production.
Well, we don't have the details, okay, and that's why I cannot really dive deep into it. We don't have the details. If it's long, I believe it's temporal, okay? Temporal, or let me say immediate and intermediate, but not long-term. When we begin to hear that, and this is the details now, that we're not just producing the palliative now. It's not just for wheat production for grain. Grain is what we consume. That part of that wheat production will be seed production. That's long-term. Okay? So that's why we need details. So if they are funding,
But what exactly do we need? Is it a temporary fix due to the prevailing circumstances or a long-term solutions?
We need all. You see, with the challenge we've had, and this challenge started like 4 years ago, 2020 precisely. With the challenge...
Post-pandemic.
Yes, post-pandemic that has happened. We needed immediate, intermediate, and long-term. Everything must be working together, and that's what you call it a value chain.
That's right.
Most approaches is immediate fix, not value chain. There's a value chain for immediate, intermediate, and long term. So we need to be hearing, if it will be sustainable, we need to be hearing that 10% of the palliative goes to seed multiplication. And that's when we know that after they produce this grain and we consume it, or the industries use it, we would have more seeds to be able to plant.
Yeah.
That is sustainability.
And there's one thing to, have this, wheat, subsidized. It's also another thing to make the best or judicious use of this wheat. How can farmers, utilize this subsidy to ensure that they get the best out of it, possibly for themselves and also for the people?
The first thing is for the farmers to actually get the subsidies. Very crucial. Now, government can release it. The Ministry of Finance can fund it. I hope they are not the ones to release it because they don't have that infrastructure. If not, we'll be repeating the cycles of last administration. Which was CBN was directly trying to push the narrative instead of working through the Ministry of Agriculture. Very important. We must pay attention to history. History is just less than 1.5 years. So we should not repeat it. So the ministry, the CBN should just be funding and monitoring efficiently and effectively the Ministry of Agriculture. Once they do that, the Ministry of Agriculture has the infrastructure to be able to make sure that things work. Now, there are two things, because if private sector now needs to pay attention to government initiatives and interventions. Yeah. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, so if these things are deployed and made sure it gets to the farmers, and how will it get to the farmers? It's that it's not everybody come to a state, to the state capital. Let's say they are doing Jigawa, because Jigawa, Kano, they produce a lot of wheat. Yeah. It should not be state capital. It should be local governments. It should be distributed. The collection centers should be at local governments. If not, the logistics, the cost of transporting from the state capital to their local governments, sometimes could be 2 hours, could be 3 hours, could be 4 hours, would make the farmers sell the input when they are collecting it. Because it may be cheaper for them to sell and go and buy. And once they have cash and they already have pre-existing needs, the money will go to other things. So if this palliative is not given to them at local government, we would repeat history in a negative way.
So mentioning some of these 16 states, wheat-producing states, is it virtually all of them or all of them are in the north?
Yes.
I talk about Kano, Kebbi, Sokoto, Jigawa, Zamfara, all of them up until Niger.
Yes.
So what benefit? How does it benefit other regions? Because I know this is a country where you say, okay, if you're subsidizing crops up north, what about down south? What about southeast? What about all of those other places?
Well,
what should the government also subsidize in that regard? Things that they farm on a large scale as against what we're seeing currently in the north.
So first thing first, we can also produce wheat in places like Shaki, it has Kwara and Co.
So meaning that you can cultivate wheat anywhere in this country?
Not everywhere. Possible. There are comparative advantages. Okay, I used to produce wheat in Jigawa, so I know this is a comfort zone for me as a farmer, not as an investor, and so you need cool weather at some stage in the production of wheat. So areas where you don't have that cool weather, you cannot produce wheat there. So the likes of Ekiti, Kwara, Shaki, those areas have, fair cool weather to make it grow well. Yeah. Now, but these areas have not developed capacity. The state governments have not supported their farmers to get to the radar where federal can pay attention to them, except they want to run pilots. So, but as they're doing wheat, okay, we need to now also complement with sweet potatoes. Okay, sweet potato goes in any state in this country, in every local government.
Which one is sweet potatoes? Because now all the potatoes that we see, I think they are the one we get from the north. I grew up eating the brown one.
Yes.
But what we eat now are those ones that look, light yellow.
Yes. So you have orange flesh sweet potato, high in vitamins and in fact more nutritious, or the ones that have this kind of shapes.
Yeah.
Yes.
A mere boy shape.
Yes. You see, those sweet potato grows anywhere. Osun is the largest producer southwest. Kwara also does a lot. In fact, there are locations in Osun, in Onyon, where when they are eulogizing the people, sweet potato is part of it.
Oh, it's part
in
of
Offa, in Kwara.
panegyrics.
So it goes not 80, 70 years. So it's just that the Northerners have commercialized it. And they didn't just commercialize it. The state governments have supported that development.
That's right.
Which is what we are not seeing. It will be good to see Osun State now say, oh, sweet potato has huge potentials, pharmaceutical, starch, the noodles, everything. So it will be good to see the state, the Kwara State governor and co to push this on a commercial scale. And by the way, a chunk of the poundo yam we consume is sweet potato and not yam.
Wow.
Yes, it's sweet potato and not yam.
Yeah.
Really?
So bottom line is, if we embrace sweet potato on a national scale, it matures in 3 months, thereabout. That means we can have at least 3 cycles in the year. But if you are conservative, 2. Yams is 9 months to 1 year. Cassava is 1 year. That means we can turn around a lot, feed the people, feed the industry. Now that we have a dollar naira challenge, this is a no-brainer. Asia has embraced this. In fact, Ghana has embraced it. Nigeria has not embraced it at scale, but yet we still have good global ranking. I think we're 4 now. So what if we put attention to it?
And we have what it takes to be.
We have, and it's
number one.
It's a crop that can also do well if you have inconsistency in rainfall.
Okay.
You know, so sweet potato is something we need to embrace. Our livestock, the new livestock ministry, we need sweet potato as a source of energy for most of our livestock. Ruminants, cows, goats, and co. We need it. Okay, so, and for things like rabbits, which also matures fast because our protein challenges is on the increase. And so we need things to revisit things like rabbits, and the vines of sweet potato and everything goes. So it's a value chain that we need to have in the same way we give wheat, rice national attention, we need to give sweet potato more attention.
All right, let's talk about how this, this subsidy on wheat, subsidy on other, things that farmers use, how it actually directly, impacts on our fight against food insecurity. Our target is 2025, and a new assessment by the World Food Programme has shown that a staggering 33 million people will actually face acute food insecurity in Nigeria. This is a very recent figure. I mean, amidst some of the subsidies that we've seen from the government, and we're still having 33 million people at risk of food insecurity. How does this directly impact? We've had a lot of interventions, and we're still having this figure.
So first thing first, I operate very comfortably in the international development space. World Bank needs to reduce this hype of negative news. 33 million, 20-something million last year, 18 million up a year. Can they also give us solutions? Can they support this?
Are you saying those figures are not up to that? Or
no, they are more than that, because it's always a region. They always talk about a region. They don't do it across the country, and it's over a decade now that I've been monitoring is just that region. So the question is, beyond just giving this data that puts anxiety in people, tell us also what you are doing as world, to support it. So yes, it's our local problem, but, let's manage it, because that works for them. They need those numbers, those hypes to raise more funding, okay? And we also need to take care of ourselves, okay? So while we don't blame them, we also need to say, okay, how do we fix this? Okay, but it brings our attention to what needs to be done. So bottom line now is, it's alarming. 33 million is in a region. If we take the 6 regions, it's going to be higher than that.
That's right.
So it's for us to have a regional approach to food security. Now, I have a challenge with, let me use the word Governors Forum, with Southwest
I believe the Southwest governors actually met at a point on this
yes.
issue, gave their
last year. No, this year, May, June.
Yeah. What's the latest on that?
So the honest truth, you see, right now we do not pancake things. We just have to manage information. Okay? The regional governors are not doing as much as they ought to. Why do I say that? Every region in this country is agrarian-based, except for maybe Lagos. And even the capacity of Lagos is huge. And I always say this, Lagos is doing more with their small size than most states.
Yeah.
Okay, travel anywhere is all bush. Okay, how come when cocoa takes before it used to take 8 years to mature.
Yeah.
Oil palm, 8 years to mature. Now you have 1.5 years, you have 2 years, and yet we're still not able to produce like we were producing in the 70s with technology and everything. So the states, the regional, I don't want to say state now, the regional governors need to up their game. I have been saying this, and I will say it all through 2025. If Southwest, Oyo, Ogun, Osun, Ondo, and Ekiti meet maybe quarterly in the Governors Forum, live happy, do press briefings, and yet Ogun and Oyo cannot supply Lagos immortal rice mill with paddy, and Niger is doing that, and Kebbi is doing that. What is the essence of these regional meetings, these forums?
Yeah.
You know, it's something that we need to begin to add. And it's not just Southwest. Every region have mega abandoned projects that these governors can just say, Q1 2025, we want to focus attention to fund the supply chain. It's always supply chain. To fund the supply chain of these massively big projects in every region. At National Governors Forum, at NEC meeting, can that be a focus? Because you see, 2025 is something I will not start to talk about, you know. I would rather stay on solutions.
Yeah.
Because the food inflation this year is child's play to what may happen next year. But the good news is that we can fix it. The indicators are not looking good.
What are the indicators you're looking at? What are the major factors that...
So basically, when you look at like maize now, okay, ideally maize, this is the maize season where the price should be the cheapest. Now the price is over 500,000. Okay, something that should be in the 150 range. And by May next year, it should double. That's the process. So if we look at everything right now, it's not looking good. However, what we can do is, I have said it on this platform, I've lost count over 10 or 15 times. We don't need more than 3 months to see effect. We don't need more than 6 months to drop any food price by 50%. If we work together, private and federal. I have said it, federal is doing too much as far as I'm concerned. State needs to do more, and the private sector needs to wake up. I play in private sector. Yeah. We all lose a lot of money, okay, because we don't pay attention to government in terms of collaboration. We see, oh, is this Tom and Jerry, cat and mouse?
That's right.
You know, so we need to begin to work together.
Absolutely. Well, because of our time, actually, what you said reminds me of what Amartya Sen, a renowned Indian scholar and philosopher, when he says in his book, Development as Freedom, that food security is not just about production, but ensuring accessibility and affordability, and it's very, very key. Thank you so much for your keenness of insight in this conversation. African Farmer Magaji, really appreciate
your time.
Thank you for having me.
Right.